Sahana Vavatu Sahano Vunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvina Aditamastu Ma Vidvashavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om. May the Divine Being look over us lovingly as a mother and father. May the Divine Being support and nourish us as a mother and father. May we have the strength and skill to study together the art of spirituality. May no misunderstandings arise amongst us. Om, peace, 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 and thy blessed beneficence be unto us and to all beloved beings everywhere. Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to our Tuesday evening reading of the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. We're still in the introduction by Swami Nikhilananda. Our beloved reader, Haima Naidu, will tell us where we are in the PDF version at least. If there's anybody else who knows where we are in the book itself, maybe you could post that in the chat or simply say it out. But we have been very much absorbing a great deal of information about the realm of spirit, particularly as it is represented in the life of Sri Ramakrishna. We've learned a lot about various aspects of Sanatana Dharma, and because Sri Ramakrishna practiced them. And so, before we begin, are there any questions or comments or concerns that anything that we've read previously has left in your mind as an unanswered question? Because it's always good to go forward based on the solid knowledge of what we've already read and discussed. All right. Well,
Brother Shankara?
Yes, Jeff.
I was pausing to make sure anyone didn't have anything serious or pertinent to say. What I have to say is more along the lines of the page numbers. I think I figured it out.
Okay.
Whatever page number Haima says for the PDF, subtract 8, and you get the page numbers that are in the book.
All right, very good. Thank you. So when Haima tells us what page we're on, subtract 8. Okay. Thank you, Jeff. Anything else from anyone? There's something on the chat, but I couldn't read what it was.
They posted the page number 26 in the book, Brother Shankara.
So
Somebody
26 minus 8 would be 26 minus 8 would be 16.
Yes.
No, it would be 18.
And the PDF is page number 33.
Oh, 33.
Yes.
So 33 minus
that's
8.
the hard copy book, the hardback.
All right, never mind.
Yeah.
33 minus 8. So 25.
That's where we are. Good evening, everyone. Namaste. You want me to start, Brother Shankara?
Please do, dear.
Okay. We are on the subheading Vedanta. That's where I'm going to be starting today. The Brahmani was the enthusiastic teacher and astonished beholder of Sri Ramakrishna in his spiritual progress. She became proud of the achievements of her unique pupil. But the pupil himself was not permitted to rest. His destiny beckoned him forward. His divine mother would allow him no respite till he had left behind the entire realm of duality with its visions, experiences, and ecstatic dreams.
Now, I'd like you to read that again, dear, because this is an amazing break that we're going to read about of Sri Ramakrishna's. So
I will.
if you would read that again, dear, I would.
Definitely. The Brahmani was the enthusiastic teacher and astonished beholder of Sri Ramakrishna in his spiritual progress. She became proud of the achievements of her unique pupil. But the pupil himself was not permitted to rest. His destiny beckoned him forward. His divine mother would allow him no respite till he had left behind the entire realm of duality with its visions, experiences, and ecstatic dreams.
Now, of course, the Divine Mother spoken of is Kali. Kali was his now constant companion and constant instructress. She was the one, as he said, "This is thy machine, thou art the operator." She was the one making this go forward. And so he was allowed no respite from his labors, and this years-long series of experiences and visions and so on, we're going to hear how she brings this to an end. And indeed, it is brought to an end. It's very rare after this that we're about to read about that Sri Ramakrishna had any kind of vision. And if he did, it was very purposeful. It wasn't investigative. So please read on, Haima dear.
Mm-hmm. But for the new ascent, the old gender guides would not suffice. The Brahmani, on whom he had depended for 3 years, saw her son escape from her to follow the command of a teacher with the masculine strength, external mean, M-I-E-N, main is external main, gnarled physique, gnarled physique, and a virile voice. The new guru was a wandering monk, the sturdy Totapuri, whom Sri Ramakrishna learned to address affectionately as Nagta, the naked one, because of his total renunciation of all earthly objects and attachments, including even a piece of wearing cloth. Totapuri was the bearer of The Totapuri was the bearer of a philosophy new to Sri Ramakrishna, the non-dualistic Vedanta philosophy, whose conclusions Totapuri had experienced in his own life. The ancient Hindu system designates the ultimate reality as Brahman, also described as Satchidananda, existence, knowledge, bliss absolute. Brahman is the only real existence. In it, there is no time, no space, no casuality, no multiplicity.
No causality.
Causality, that's right, sorry, forgive me. Brahman is the only real existence. In it, there is no time, no space, no causality, no multiplicity. But through Maya, its inscrutable power, time, space, and causality are created, and the one appears to break into the many. The eternal spirit appears as the manifold of individuals, endowed with form and subject to the conditions of time. The immortal becomes a victim of birth and death. The changeless undergoes change. The sinless, pure soul, hypnotized by its own Maya, experiences the joys of heaven and the pains of hell. But these experiences, based on the duality of the subject-object relationship, are unreal.
Now, I'm going to ask Jaime to read that again, but
I
I'm going to
will.
say first, because this is a very good summation of what Vedanta is. I'm going to say first that this time, space, and causation it is of our own. We are that divine being behind the appearance of our multiplicity is that one being. As Swami Yogeshananda used to teach, consciousness, capital C, consciousness is primary and is not plural, no matter how it seems to us. So this is where I'd like to have Jaime read this again, and so that we get a sense from Swami Nikhilananda of what it is that Totapuri was bringing to Sri Ramakrishna.
Brother Shankara, there are 5 more lines in this paragraph which relates to this whole thing, and then I can go back and read the whole thing.
Please do.
You want me to do that?
Yes.
Okay. Even the vision of a personal God is, ultimately speaking, as illusory as the experience of any other object. Man attains his liberation, therefore, by piercing the veil of Maya and rediscovering his total identity with Brahman. Knowing himself to be one with the universal spirit, he realizes ineffable peace. Only then does he go beyond the fiction of birth and death. Only then does he become immortal. And this is the ultimate goal of all religions, to dehypnotize the soul, now hypnotized by its own ignorance. Now I will go back and read this whole paragraph one more time.
Thank you, dear.
Sure. This ancient Hindu system designates the ultimate reality as Brahman, also described as Satchidananda, existence, knowledge, bliss absolute. Brahman is the only real existence. In it, there is no time, no space, no causality, no multiplicity. But through Maya, its inscrutable power, time, space, and causality are created, and the one appears to break into the many. The eternal spirit appears as a manifold of individuals endowed with form and subject to the conditions of time. The immortal becomes a victim of birth and death. The changeless undergoes change. The sinless, pure soul, hypnotized by its own Maya, experiences the joys of heaven and the pains of hell. But these experiences, based on the duality of the subject-object relationship, are unreal. Even the vision of a personal God is, ultimately speaking, as illusory as the experience of any other object.
Even the experience of a personal God is ultimately as illusory as the experience of any other object. This is where you see that Vedanta breaks with all of the other, this non-duality, this Advaita, breaks with all of the other paths of self-realization, because it denies that there is any personal God, that too is without substance and is something that of time, space, and causation. So what a what a change is about this is going to take place in Sri Ramakrishna. All right, dear, please read on.
Man attains his liberation, therefore, by piercing the veil of Maya and rediscovering his total identity with Brahman. Knowing himself to be one with the universal spirit, he realizes ineffable peace. Only then does he go beyond the fiction of birth and death. Only then does he become immortal. And this is the ultimate goal of all religions, to de-hypnotize the soul, now hypnotized by its own ignorance.
All right, and let's pause there.
Sure.
Is there any comment from your own wisdom or experience about any of this, or any concern or question that it raises that you'd like to have clarified? Anything at all from anyone?
I have a comment, Brother Shankara.
Yes, dear.
When even the vision of a personal God is as illusory as the experience of any other object. I see that because God is, divine is in me, I am in him, because he shared his bit to the whole universe, right? That is why I guess that sentence is so perfectly said.
Yes.
Personal God is as illusory as the experience of any other object.
And yet Swami Vivekananda says, if we are to worship, it is only the personal God
Self, I'm
that
worshiping
we
on
can
myself.
worship, because it's the only thing that our finite mind can have any grasp of in the least. We can have no grasp of Brahman. There is nothing to grasp. There is no thing there. We don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. I can tell you those words. I have some inkling of it. You have some inkling of it, no doubt. But what it actually means, we can only realize in the state of union with Brahman, which is a form of samadhi, the highest form of samadhi. So this is where true immortality comes. But by the grace of the personal God taking human form in the person of a Jesus Christ, a Rama, a Adi Shankaracharya, a Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, or a Sri Ramakrishna, they can shortcut this process. They can give you the gift of knowledge and liberation. This is what it says Vivekananda wrote of Sri Ramakrishna in the evening hymn, Breaker of This World's Chain. Just exactly that. Let us look deep in thine eyes. They are bright with the wisdom of God, personal God. They are bright with the wisdom of God that can wake us from Maya's spell. And so this is the wonder, the great wonder of the incarnation. Out of the love and compassion for humanity, the ineffable Brahman, through its Maya, as Sri Krishna says so clearly in the Gita, I create a body out of my Maya. I create this in order to come among you and bring you peace. So this is what Sri Ramakrishna did as well. And and in that list of avatars I mentioned, I neglected Sri Krishna. But that doesn't mean that it wasn't true. It just meant that for the moment, I didn't include it. So are there any concerns, comments, or questions beyond the one that Haima very accurately made?
I just want to make sure I'm hearing this right. So it sounds to me what he's saying is that Savikalpa Samadhi is actually a subtle duality, and that in itself will fall away also.
Yes, exactly. Savikalpa Samadhi is an experience. There is the experience, there is the experiencer, and there is the experienced. The experienced is this total unity, this total oneness of all existence as the divine presence. There's no way to put this into words.
Because once you've had the realization, then Savikalpa Samadhi doesn't go anywhere, basically.
Well, Savikalpa Samadhi is still within time, space, and causation. So once one has the final realization, yes, indeed. And we'll hear of Sri Ramakrishna's having to use the sword of discrimination to cut himself free from the personal goddess, this Mother Kali. We'll hear about this. It is a truly remarkable example of what the avatar is capable of, what the incarnation is capable of. But you're absolutely right, Glenn. Savikalpa Samadhi is within time, space, and causation. It is a thing of the personal. You see the personal God. As Christ said, we see then as through a glass darkly. We can see the reality, but we can't merge with it as a moth would merge with the flame and be extinguished.
I think St. Francis was hitting on this too.
Oh, no question.
He was saying that, you even give up your concept of God, and to give up God is the highest form of faith.
Yes, yes, yes. Aquinas said this as well.
Brother Shankara.
Yes, Jeff.
I may be jumping the gun since we're about to hear about Sri Ramakrishna and Kali, but it seems like when he is in Nirvikalpa Samadhi, then naturally he is one with Brahman. It seems to me like, from what I've read, that at any other time besides when he was so absorbed, he was a devotee of Kali. And so until he was one with the infinite, he was in constant relationship and worship with Kali. Am I correct in that?
Yes, and does still. He has remained with us. He has told us, I am leaving the physical body, but I will remain with you in my subtle body for 200 years. That means till 2086, that's the calculation. And then I will take human form again. In order to bring this another wave of this great spiritual transformation of the end of the Kali Yuga and the beginning of the Golden Age, bring that into being. So, yes, indeed, he continues to be, so to speak, one with Kali, because he said at the end of his life, pointing to his body, there are two here, the mother, that is Kali, and her worshiper. And so that is what left the body and took this subtle form. And we have some testimony to that effect, because when Sri Ramakrishna left the body, Holy Mother exclaimed, "Oh my Kali, where have you gone?" And he had to tell her, he had to come and tell her. So this, your surmise is quite correct, Jeff. That is exactly. And he remains with us, and that is why he's able to do things like is going to happen this coming Monday. He's able to offer Diksha. He's able, through his eternal teachers, Swami Sarvadevananda being one, the eternal teacher takes this face and offers this initiation, which then enables a person to use the keys to Sri Ramakrishna's treasure box, which is what you're given at initiation, and to finally go beyond Maya. And if it doesn't happen while you're alive, this is what we're told by the teachers. If you don't succeed while you're alive, you will be given that boon, that gift, that liberation at the point of death. You will be, and of course, there's no way to explain what's meant by that. We don't know what's meant by liberation. It's only pointing at the moon. It's not the moon. So thank you, Jeff. Yes, you're absolutely right.
And
anything else from anyone?
a follow-up question.
Yes.
Does that also mean that Sri Ramakrishna showed us that even after you have achieved moksha or liberation, there's still work to do? You're never really done.
Well, yes and no. Some return to serve by invitation, but not everyone has that work to do. Some take the path of the saints and go on, they may have some work to do, but they won't do it in human physical form. They will do it in their subtle form, in this realm of the saints, which we don't need to talk about. It's because we really don't know what we're talking about, but it is there. So not everyone returns to serve. They return to serve by invitation. And when we point at someone like Swami Sarvadevananda, we can imagine that that is what they did, because how else could their life have unfolded the way it did? And the same would be true of your guru, Swami Ishtananda. Why does Swami Ishtananda live, think, speak, and act as he does? Because he is a face of the eternal teacher and has that gift to give.
I can't disagree, but I apologize. I didn't fully state my question or comment very well. What I meant was, while Sri Ramakrishna was on this planet, after having samadhi after samadhi, he was still worshiping Kali. So in that regard, was he showing us that we always have work to do? You never really arrive at the ultimate.
Oh, we can't compare ourselves in any way, Jeff, with Sri Ramakrishna. No, we just have to find out what's true for us when it happens. But there's no way that we can say, because Sri Ramakrishna had this to do, that there's a parallel for us. We just simply cannot say that. And if you want more details about that, I suggest you talk about it with Swami Ishtananda, because he will very carefully explain to you why there's no way for us to think about Sri Ramakrishna and ourselves in the same thought. He's a totally different order of being.
But that does bring up an interesting question. You had mentioned that when we take this physical human birth, we can't see God, so we need something physical to worship, an image. But Ramakrishna, he could achieve samadhi anytime. So why do you suppose he worships Kali?
You just have to listen to what the book says, because because of his total and unmotivated love for her. I mean, she was his divine mother, his true mother, his real mother. So he loved her just as he loved his physical mother without any qualification. He offered his human mother unqualified and total love and support, and saw to it that she was comfortable right through the end of her life. Now, of course, this relationship with Kali is beyond our understanding, but it is one of love. That's why. And as we'll find that out as we read the book. But this that we're about to hear about as we read on, he actually has to use the sword of discrimination to cut that relationship in order to become what Totapuri is leading him toward. Does that get it, Brahmadas?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's like you said, we can't possibly understand the divine incarnation, but it's something we can speculate on. I
Well,
think it was show us that this is the path to follow. You need something concrete because we humans, we can't see God. I can see you, see this chair, but I can't see God. So we need something physical.
We need the personal God, and this is why. And it's good to surmise and speculate and contemplate about Sri Ramakrishna. But we mustn't think that because we do that, we have any a total understanding. It's just our left mind's desire to define and categorize. And that's fine. When we do our spiritual practice, we go beyond that. We go beyond the left mind's musings. So we go from contemplation, the left mind's musings. We go from contemplation to concentration to meditation. And then we have some realization, the realization that comes to us profoundly after some time, and I mean a decade or two, is that we are none other, this is Savikalpa Samadhi, we are none other than that which is pointed to by the word Atman or Brahman. And it isn't that we've had Nirvikalpa Samadhi, but we know that we are that witness self. Enough nattering about that. Let's let the Haima read on, unless there's some other comment or question from you. You know, I can natter on forever.
I have one comment on what Brahmadas said, that Brother Shankara.
Yes, dear.
We may not see God as a human form or any other form, but we feel the presence after years or months of continuous practices of meditation. Yes. We feel the presence, we feel that footprints, what Christianity says, the footprints, when you are in trouble, he carries us. When you are doing well, he walks with us. We see 4 footprints and then 2 footprints. We can get there. That's possible.
No question, dear.
It's sort of hidden and never really clearly reveals himself in a way that can never be disputed. I guess that's a mystery we'll never understand.
Indeed it is. The left mind can always come up with doubts and fears until Sri Ramakrishna shares his, as it says in the evening prayer, thou hast finished with fear you have finished with doubt and with fear, standing firm in the vision of God, refuge to all who have cast fame, fortune, and friends away. In other words, he can share this with us if we renounce the world and will share it with us, wants to share it with us, this freedom from doubt and fear. In the meantime, we experience it. Anything else? Thank you, Brahmadas. Thank you, Haima. Thank you, all of you. Anything else from anyone? All right, dear, we have plenty of time left. Please read on.
Okay. The path of the Vedantic discipline is the path of negation, neti, in which, by stern determination, all that is unreal is both negated and renounced.
I'm sorry, I missed the word. By what kind of negation?
It's the path of the Vedantic discipline is the path of negation, neti, in which, by stern determination,
Stern, that's the
stern,
word. That's the word I missed. Thank you.
by stern determination, all that is unreal is both negated and renounced. It is the path of jnana, knowledge, the direct method of realizing the absolute. After the negation of everything relative, including the discriminating ego itself, the aspirant merges in the one without a second in the bliss of nirvikalpa samadhi, where subject and object are alike dissolved. The soul goes beyond the realm of thought. The domain of duality is transcended. Maya is left behind with all its changes and modifications. The real man towers above the delusions of creation, preservation, and destruction. An avalanche of indescribable bliss sweeps away all relative ideas of pain and pleasure, good and evil. There shines in the heart the glory of the eternal Brahman, existence, knowledge, bliss absolute. Knower, knowledge, and known are dissolved in the ocean of one eternal consciousness. Love, lover, and beloved merge in the unbounded sea of supreme felicity. Birth, growth, and death vanish in infinite existence. All doubts and misgivings are quelled forever. The oscillations of the mind are stopped. The momentum of the past actions is exhausted. Breaking down the ridgepole of the tabernacle in which the soul has made its abode for untold ages, stilling the body, calming the mind, drowning the ego, the sweet joy of Brahman wells up in that superconscious state. Space disappears into nothingness. Time is swallowed in eternity, and causation becomes a dream of the past. Only existence is. Who can describe what the soul then feels in its communion with the self? I can read this one more time, Brother Shankara.
Yeah, but before you do, is there anything that this has stimulated in the way of a comment or question from anyone?
Yes.
All right, please do read it again, dear.
Sure. The path of
Now, this definition of the state of existence beyond time, space, and causation, you can imagine that Nikhilananda is not speaking from book learning here. This is testimony of a realized soul. I suspect if we were able to ask him, he would say this was a gift of the master or of the mother. It isn't something that you can do. It isn't a matter of self-effort. Mother, as Sri Ramakrishna says, turns the key in the lock, opens the door, and puts you into this state of realization. So this is what we can imagine now, that what we're hearing from Swami Nikhilananda is a matter of his own realized state. He's not speaking He's not quoting from the Upanishads. He's speaking what he knows. So having said that, any other comment, concern, or question from anyone? Okay, please do read it again, dear.
The path of the Vedantic discipline is the path of negation, neti, in which, by stern determination, all that is unreal is both negated and renounced. It is the path of jnana, knowledge, the direct method of realizing the absolute. After the negation of everything relative, including the discriminating ego itself, the aspirant merges in the one without a second, in the bliss of nirvikalpa samadhi, where subject and object are alike dissolved. The soul goes beyond the realm of thought. The domain of duality is transcended. Maya is left behind with all its changes and modifications. The real man towers above the delusions of creation, preservation, and destruction. An avalanche of indescribable bliss sweeps away all relative ideas of pain and pleasure, good and evil. There shines in the heart the glory of the eternal Brahman, existence, knowledge, bliss absolute. Knower, knowledge, and known are dissolved in the ocean of one eternal consciousness. Love, lover, and beloved merge in the unbounded sea of supreme felicity. Birth, growth, and death vanish in infinite existence. All doubts and misgivings are quelled forever. The oscillations of the mind are stopped. The momentum of past actions is exhausted. Breaking down the ridge pole of the tabernacle in which the soul has made its abode for untold ages, stilling the body, calming the mind, drowning the ego, that sweet joy of Brahman wells up in that superconscious state. Space disappears into nothingness. Time is swallowed in eternity, and causation becomes a dream of the past. Only existence is. Who can describe what the soul then feels in its communion with the self? Even when man descends from this dizzy height, he is devoid of ideas of I and mine. He looks on the body as a mere shadow, an outer sheath encasing the soul. He does not dwell on the past, takes no thought for the future, and looks with indifference on the present. He surveys everything in the world with an eye of equality. He is no longer touched by the infinite variety of phenomena. He no longer reacts to pleasure and pain. He remains unmoved whether he, that is to say, his body, is worshipped by the good or tormented by the wicked, for he realizes that it is the one Brahman that manifests itself through everything. The impact of such an experience devastates the body and the mind. Consciousness becomes blasted, as it were, with an excess of light. In the Vedanta books, it is said that after the experience of nirvikalpa samadhi, the body drops off like a dry leaf. Only those who are born with a special mission for the world can return from this height to the valleys of normal life. They live and move in the world for the welfare of mankind. They are invested with a supreme spiritual power. A divine glory shines through them. That's the end of Vedanta.
Okay. And if you want to know what is meant by these last words, just come and see Swami Sarvadevananda when he comes this weekend. Come and either by Zoom, or might be much better if you can come to the chapel. Come and be in his presence. You will see. Of course, he doesn't flaunt it. In fact, the Swamis disguise it. But if you're using your highest sense of intuition and your five senses to their best ability, you will see a remarkable human being, a remarkable divine presence being human. So I very much recommend to each of you to make that effort at some point during the time that the Swami's here, which will be very brief. He comes on Sunday evening, speaks that Sunday evening. He speaks at 8 o'clock. He'll probably speak for an hour to an hour and a half. There probably will not be any time for meetings after that. We'll disperse. But then there will be time to meet with him after he offers initiation to those people who have applied for initiation. He will offer initiation on Monday morning, which normally takes from 8 a.m. to about noon. And then he'll have time for personal meetings, personal interviews that afternoon and evening, and then on Tuesday morning before he leaves for Austin. So if you want to have a personal interview with him, personal meeting, please send me an email. It's the recommended way. If you tell me by phone or send me a text message, there's no guarantee that I'll translate that into an appointment with the Swami. Send me an email. Any comments or questions from anyone? Okay.
Next, yes.
Hang on just a second.
Sure.
Any comment or question then about anything we've read so far?
So
Is there anything that's unclear?
the state that he was talking about a state to where there is the one and you're aware of the one, but everything's the one. Whereas in the Nirvikalpa Samadhi, you're not even, there is nothing to be aware.
Well, it's when you return from that state that you express what he expressed. And it is, as he said, it's only those with a special mission that return. Most people, having experienced Nirvikalpa Samadhi, having had that, and I can't say experienced, I'm sorry, that was a clumsy use of the word. When they've been in that state of Nirvikalpa Samadhi, since it's not an experience, there is no experiencer there is no mind. Having been in that state, as he said, the body is devastated. And so most people simply drop the body. Some few apparently live as many as 21 days for whatever reason. There's no explanation given that I've ever heard, but they may live up to 21 days. But those who have a special mission from the divine live on to become this face of the eternal teacher. Nikhilananda was one. Swami Prabhavananda, my guru, was emphatically one. But so is Swami Sarvadevananda. I mean, I have some special affection, of course, for Prabhavananda and some special feeling for him. But this Swami Sarvadevananda, he's different, but behind the difference, I mean, he's a different personality, but behind the difference is that which is not different. All right. Please read on, Haima.
Okay. Next subheading is Totapuri. Totapuri arrived at the Dakshineshwar temple garden toward the end of 1864. Perhaps born in the Punjab, he was the head of a monastery in that province of India and claimed leadership of 700 sannyasis. Trained from early youth in the disciplines of the Advaita Vedanta, he looked upon the world as an illusion. The gods and goddesses of the dualistic worship were, to him, mere fantasies of the deluded mind. Prayers, ceremonies, rites, and rituals had nothing to do with true religion, and about these he was utterly indifferent. Exercising self-exertion and unshakable willpower, he had liberated himself from attachment to the sense objects of the relative universe. For 40 years, he had practiced austere discipline on the bank of the sacred Narmada and had finally realized his identity with the Absolute. Thenceforward, he roamed in the world as an unfettered soul, a lion free from the cage. Clad in a loin cloth, he spent his days under the canopy of the sky, alike in storm and sunshine, feeding his body on the slender pittance of alms. He had been visiting the estuary of the Ganges. On his return journey along the bank of the sacred river, led by the inscrutable divine will, he stopped at Dakshineshwar. Totapuri, discovering at once that Sri Ramakrishna was prepared to be a student of Vedanta, asked Totapuri, discovering at once that Sri Ramakrishna was prepared to be a student of Vedanta, asked to initiate him into its mysteries. With the permission of the Divine Mother, Sri Ramakrishna agreed to the proposal. But Totapuri explained that only a sannyasi could receive the teaching of Vedanta. Sri Ramakrishna agreed to renounce the world, but with the stipulation that the ceremony of his initiation into the monastic order be performed in secret to spare the feelings of his old mother, who had been living with him at Dakshineshwar. On the appointed day, in the small hours of the morning, a fire was lighted in the Panchavati. Totapuri and Sri Ramakrishna sat before it. The flame played on their faces. Ramakrishna was a small brown man with a short beard and beautiful eyes, long dark eyes, full of light, obliquely set and slightly veiled, never very wide open, but seeing half closed, a great distance both outwardly and inwardly. His mouth was open over his white teeth in a bewitching smile, at once affectionate and mischievous. Of medium height, he was thin to emaciation and extremely delicate. His temperament was high strung, for he was super sensitive to all the winds of joy and sorrow, both moral and physical. He was indeed a living reflection of all that happened before the mirror of his eyes, a two-sided mirror turned both out and in. Facing him, the other rose like a rock. He was very tall and robust, a sturdy and tough oak. His constitution and mind were of iron. He was the strong leader of men. In the burning flame before him, Sri Ramakrishna performed the rituals of destroying his attachment to relatives, friends, body, mind, sense organs, ego, and the world. The leaping flames swallowed it all, making the initiate free and pure. The sacred thread and the tuft of hair were consigned to the fire, completing his severance from caste, sex, and society. Last of all, he burnt in that fire with all that is holy as his witness, his desire for enjoyment here and hereafter. He uttered the sacred mantras, giving assurance of safety and fearlessness to all beings who were only manifestations of his own self. The rites completed, the disciple received from the Guru the loincloth and ochre robe, the emblems of his new life.
Ochre.
Ochre robe.
Yeah, it
The
means
right-
orange. It means
Orange
the form
robe.
of orange. It's the color of fire.
Yes.
Ochre robe.
Ochre robe and the emblems of his new life. I'll read that sentence. The rites completed, the disciple received from the Guru the loincloth and an ochre robe, the emblems of his new life. The teacher and the disciple repaired to the meditation room nearby. Totapuri began to impart to Sri Ramakrishna the great truths of Vedanta. Brahman, he said, is the only reality, ever pure, ever illumined, ever free, beyond the limits of time, space, and causation. Though apparently divided by names and forms, through the inscrutable power of Maya, that enchantress who makes the impossible possible, Brahman is really one and undivided. When a seeker merges in the beatitude of samadhi,
Beatitude.
oh, beatitude, okay. When a seeker merges in the beatitude of samadhi, he does not perceive time and space or name and form.
What is that word again, dear?
It's it. Yeah.
What is
It
the
says, you mean it says beatitude.
beatitude. Beatitude.
Beatitude. That makes sense. Okay, I'll read that sentence. When a seeker merges in the beatitude of samadhi, he does not perceive time and space or name and form, the offspring of Maya. Whatever is within the domain of Maya is unreal. Give it up. Destroy the prison house of name and form and rush out of it with the strength of a lion. Dive deep in search of the self and realize it through samadhi. You will find the world of name and form vanishing into void and the puny ego dissolving in Brahman consciousness. You will realize your identity with Brahman, existence, knowledge, bliss absolute. Quoting the Upanishad, Totapuri said that knowledge is shallow by which one sees or hears or knows another. What is shallow is worthless. and can never give real felicity. But the knowledge by which one does not see another or hear another or know another, which is beyond duality, is great, and through such knowledge, one attains the infinite bliss. How can the mind and senses grasp that which shines in the heart of all as the eternal subject? Todapuri asked the disciple to withdraw his mind from all objects of relative world, including the gods and goddesses, and to concentrate on the absolute. But the task was not easy even for Sri Ramakrishna. He found it impossible to take his mind beyond Kali, the divine mother of the universe. After the initiation, Sri Ramakrishna once said, describing the event, Nangta began to teach me the various conclusions of the Advaita Vedanta and asked me to withdraw the mind completely from all objects and dive deep into the Atman. But in spite of all my attempts, I could not altogether cross the realm of name and form and bring my mind to the unconditioned state. I had no difficulty in taking the mind from all the objects of the world, but the radiant and too familiar figure of the blissful mother, the embodiment of the essence of pure consciousness, appeared before me as a living reality. Her bewitching smile prevented me from passing into the great beyond. Again and again I tried, but she stood in my way every time. In despair, I said to Nangta, it's hopeless. I cannot raise my mind to the unconditioned state and come face to face with Atman. He grew excited and sharply said, what, you can do it? But you have to. He cast his eyes around. Finding a piece of glass, he took it up and stuck it between my eyebrows. Concentrate the mind on this point, he thundered. Then, with a stern determination, I again sat to meditate. As soon as the gracious form of the Divine Mother appeared before me, I used my discrimination as a sword and with it claw her in two. The last barrier fell. My spirit at once soared beyond the relative plane and I lost myself in samadhi.
So let's leave it at that for tonight.
Yes, it's almost time, Brother Shankara.
Oh, it is
It's past. Yes, it's past 3 minutes. Sorry.
So now you've heard
Yes.
that even the divine being incarnate as Sri Ramakrishna had difficulty with this. Is it any wonder that we have such difficulty with this? Is it any wonder that so few are able to practice the direct path of Advaita Vedanta Jnana? So this is why Sri Ramakrishna says, it's not the right time for that. Come to me, he says, just as Christ said, come to me. He said, come to me and practice bhakti, practice the chanting of the name and finding God through love and devotion. That is the appropriate path for this time at the end of the Kali Yuga. We'll hear about that as time goes on in this book. Sri Ramakrishna is very emphatic about it. But as I said, he can share this ability to go beyond that if we, as he says, practice just a little. Someone will come forward to help you. By that he means himself as the Divine Mother herself. All that will become clearer as we move along. Any final thought, comment, or question from anyone?
This tells us that we're not alone, Brother Shankara, in contemplating, concentrating, and meditating. We go through the struggle too. We went through, and some of us still go through. Even Sri Ramakrishna went through that same struggle as we did. We do and did.
And that's why he can pull us.
Yes.
That's why that little devotee song says, "Oh Lord, take my hand.
Yes.
Oh Lord, pull me on."
It's comforting to know that he also had a lot of struggle to get there, but he's so illumined, so he got there faster.
He had that struggle so that he would understand our struggle.
Yeah, exactly.
The divine must, in its mercy,
Yes.
experience what human beings experience in order to appropriately teach them. And Sri Ramakrishna says that himself. And Holy Mother is very emphatic about it. So we'll let it go with that for tonight. Thank you, Haima, as always.
Yes, you're welcome, Brother.
Anything else from anyone before we close? All right, dears. Om Hari Om. Om Sato Ma Satkamaya. Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya. Mrityorma Amrutangamaya. Abir Moiti. Oh, dearly beloved Lord, lead us from the unreal to the real. Lead us from this realm of endless noise and relentless confusion to thine abode of silence, serenity, clarity, and peace. Lead us from darkness to light. Lead us from darkness and ignorance to the brilliance of thy wisdom and love. Lead us from death to immortality. Light us through and through. Light us through and through with thy everlasting, shining presence. Om Hari Om. Om Hari Om. Om Hari Om Tat Sat. Dearly beloved, make it so. Jai Shri Guru Maharaj Ji Ki Jai. Durga Durga Durga. May we all be safe. May we all be healthy. May we all be cheerful. May we all have peace of mind. And may we all go forward in the secure knowledge that we are in the loving and protective embrace of the Divine Being as our Mother and Father. Jai Shri Guru Maharaj Ji Ki Jai. Jai Shri Ramakrishna Jai Ma. Jai Kali Ma. So any final thought or anything from anyone? All right, dears. Until tomorrow night, for those of you who decide to join us for the study of the Gita, or Saturday, or of course Sunday when the Swami comes. I hope that as many of you who as can come and witness this phenomenon of an eternal teacher, the face of the eternal teacher embodied as Swami Sarvadevananda. Jai, 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 Jai. Good night, everyone.